Well, good evening, everybody. It is 6:30 p.m. and time for the third of three state CFOA meetings. My name is Joel Pogar. I will be your MC and one of your presenters tonight. Hopefully, everybody's enjoying their season. We're about three-quarters of the way through the season right now, and just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. So everybody's been muted. All the participants are muted upon entry. If you have a question or a comment, please use the chat window to ask it. If you have your video turned on, it is best for your experience if you turn your video off. There's no need to be sending out your video, and it will help with your bandwidth and being able to watch the videos that we are presenting. All of the area directors will get an attendance list for this evening, approximately 24 hours after we conclude today. So if you are a call-in user, in other words, if you just dialed in on your phone and put in the passcode, your name does not automatically get recorded. So you may have to make sure that your area director properly records your attendance for tonight. If you logged in with the app, or if you logged in via the web, we will automatically capture your name and information, and that will be in the attendance list that goes out. If you wanted to send a copy of this recording or you're not able to stay for all of it, a copy of this will be posted by tomorrow as well once the attendance list goes out, and that will be on the DFOA website in our calendar. For tonight, we've got Matt Miller, our CFOA president, doing some introductions. We're going to hear from Kirk Russell about the goal line and line to gain. Scott Zocchi is going to be talking about communication, and I'll wrap up the night talking about seven-man mechanics as we get ready to head into playoff season. So without further ado, Mr. Matt Miller, you out there?
Hey, thanks, Joel. You
Turn it over to you.
took my intro. Anyway, playoffs are coming up, so just make sure that everybody is going to work playoffs. Let your area directors know that you're available so we don't have any issues when we start assigning games. It's very helpful. We get those games accepted by Monday evening so we can relax for the rest of the week until something bad comes up. So just please be checking Arbiter, checking your emails, communicating with everybody, and have fun. Anyway, Joel's already told us what we're going to do tonight. So with that, I will let Kirk take it over, and we'll do some line to gain stuff. Thanks, everyone.
All right, there we go. Welcome all. We're going to talk tonight about what I call the money line. I don't know if all of you have adopted that, but in many of the crews in Denver, if we use radios, we refer to the goal line, and I think we all would know the money line to being a goal line, but I think more important is that line to gain stake in situations where it is a critical decision after that down. Example, third down and 3 in your own territory, and you're on offense, and the offensive team snaps the ball. The coach needs to get to that line to gain, or they have to punt. They aren't likely going to go for it on fourth down in their own territory unless there's some other game situation. And so a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about is pre-snap related. We need to prepare ourselves for what is the critical element of that down. A lot of times we think down and distance, those are critical pieces, or maybe some tendencies, maybe some talented on the field. Maybe the quarterback scrambles and is very talented at that. He's just going to take it on himself. All that stuff factors in, and one of those pieces is this next down a critical down, and do we have a money line? And so I spoke about third and short in their own territory, maybe third and short at the 40-yard line going in because they might still have to punt, so it's in that gray zone. But certainly fourth and short, and they're going for it. We have a money line situation. And so I've got some plays I want to talk about the line to gain, and in your mind or on your radio communication, talk about money line, and then I want to talk about a tweak in the mechanic to help us in that space. Before I go to the goal line play that you're seeing on the screen, and I know many of you have grumbled or groaned seeing that big Husker N on the screen. Unfortunately for you all, I was watching the Nebraska game over the weekend and loved this series of plays near the goal line. But before I get into this goal line play, think about this, and this even takes us back to, it's really more about forward progress. If you've heard me talk, you've heard me talk about, when does the coach or the fans or the players, what is a critical forward progress spot, meaning where we spot the ball. We talk about on 1st and 10, let's start on a yard line where we can. Because then we can maybe avoid measuring, because we've got hash marks to have a visual of whether we're close to a first down or not. An example is any change of possession, particular on punts, we don't need the wings to go all the way down and square in at the spot. That spot can be handled by a back judge plus or minus a yard. Yes, we want to get close, but when does the coach yell, or a coach, assistant, head coach, that's a horrible spot? When do we hear that? And it has to do with a money line situation. It doesn't have to do with a punt. It doesn't have to do with a turnover on downs when it was 4th and 10 and they gained 5. The coach is not yelling, that's a horrible spot. It's when we are in a money line question situation. And so in this case, we're going to see some plays where Illinois is trying to punch this ball in. And on the screen right now, you can see 2nd and goal from about the 3-yard line. And what I want to talk about, even though this is college mechanics, it lines up with the same things our wings and umpires need to do on 5-man mechanics at the high school level. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. They're going to snap the ball from the 3. A focus on this particular play, I want to look at that head linesman at the top of the screen and his movement. When we are inside the 5, we talk about get to the goal line at the snap. Immediately move to the goal line. And we'll see this head linesman move to that pylon so that he can look straight down that line and get the best vantage point available to him. When we get challenged and the coach looks at it on film, if this wing were to be standing at the 3-yard line and be late to get to that goal line, he questions whether that wing had the best view available to him. In this case, you can see in the video where the runner actually had his butt and back comes down before the ball crosses the goal line. Hopefully that wing can see that. He's got a lot of traffic in his way. Now you're seeing the same play. If anything, I probably would want that wing at the top to take a little bit wider, take an angle so that we're a little bit wider, maybe back where that striped line is on that sideline. Because if that play comes your way, we need you to stay in line with the goal line. And I'll show you a play where we didn't, and it makes it extremely difficult to rule on that goal line. So I like how this wing does this, moves to the goal line at the snap. I tell you what, when we snap from the 3-yard line, get there. It is just the first thing you do, and you're going to officiate the play from that location on this money line. And this goal line. I might even say the same thing if we're 3rd and short from a 3rd and 3 in a money line situation, or 4th and 3. Let's get to the line of scrimmage if we're in a money line situation. All right, let me advance to the next play here. So they did not make the line to gain. So now they're going to come out, and I want to talk about this place. And now it's 3rd and goal from about the foot line. You can see what they do. They line up in this rugby scrum situation, and we've all seen it. Short yardage, and the team comes up in this quick action. Quarterback goes under center. One thing that I think we fail in this situation, this is kind of off topic, we let that quarterback and some of the players continue to move without being set. I think it's absolutely critical that we get a second set. We talk about when there's this need to take advantage of things, that's when we need to be hypercritical of that action. And so in this case, they do, the team, Illinois, let me go back. Illinois comes up and gets set. They're in this mass of humanity. I got to believe there's about 2,000 pounds on that ball carrier at the bottom of this pile. Surprised he came out breathing. What I love is, I'm going to take it back. I want to look at that top wing again. You'll watch him take a step immediately to the goal line, straddle that pylon, look straight down the line, plays over. He steps into the field of play around the pylon, does not run through those players. He's laser focused. He's got an idea of where he's got the spot. We start unpiling. I love to see this umpire's body in there looking for that ball. Our job as umpires in this situation, there is not going to be any holding call in a strong situation like this. Our eyes can train on that ball carrier, that quarterback, or if he hands it off to the back, let's help with finding that ball in this mass of humanity. You see this umpire jump in as soon as the play's over, try to find the ball. I do caution umpires and anybody that starts digging, even for a fumble, be careful because those players can come up out of there quick and all of a sudden you chip a tooth. So if it helps, lay on the ball carriers that you're dealing with. That way they don't just lift up so quick and hurt you. But I like how this umpire starts finding the ball. Our goal as umpires is to find the ball that might help the wings come in because they're going to have a hard time seeing where that progress was. But if all of a sudden you grab that ball or find that ball and it's in the end zone, that might be the ingredient they need to know whether that was a score or not. So love the crash by the wings, getting as far in as they can.
Hey, Kirk, a question for you. So, helping the runner is one of our points of emphasis this year. Is this helping the runner in high school?
I'm going to go to the next play, and you're going to see the Huskers violate that. I'm going to
Gotcha.
great comment. I like that somebody is seeing that. But I think I've exhausted this play. So this is this is third down. So we're going to snap it again from now this is 4th and goal now after timeouts by both teams, and got to believe how intense this is at this point. So now we're snapping it from the 6-inch yard line. And an interesting piece that I didn't run through the recording here, the team came out and the center actually, in a natural movement, moved the ball and crossed the goal line. The wings killed the clock, said, no, we got to reset that ball. Don't be moving that ball to break the plane of the nose of the goal line here. Interesting piece to this, but that is not in my recording. So now we're going to snap the ball from that 6-inch yard line. Again, the wing is going to straddle that goal, charge up the middle. It's hard to believe that they did not get this across that white line. We're going to kill the clock regardless. Let's unpile here. It appears to me these wings are very confident. One thing I want to make note, do not charge in and say no, 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 because I have seen it happen on a crew where somebody comes in hard and says no, 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 and then the other wing has it across the goal line, and it's really hard to recover from that misfire. So just come in strong. Make sure you're in communication just with eyes and body language with your opposite wing. If you got it across the line, it's a touchdown. But if you don't, just come in with the information you have. Get some help from the umpire unpiling to see if that ball actually crossed with the movement that you saw. Umpires, if you got information and you have no doubt that you can help the wings, pull them off to the side, say, let's talk about this. Try to get away from the players and say, let's talk about this. I'll tell you what I saw.
Hey, Kirk, if this was third down, obviously we're killing the clock because it's 4th down, right? But if this was third down and let's just say time matters, would you kill the clock while we're digging for the ball?
Great pre-snap thought. That if that clock is critical, the team might be out of timeouts and it's third down. They can't do anything about spiking it. We would not kill the clock if it's third down, if it's short, but unless we think the unpiling is an unnecessary delay and players are not getting up in a timely fashion, then I think you could rule that, hey, we got to shut this down and unpile because it's not the defense is not allowing the offense to get back in position. But I would say try to let this go. This is somewhat part of the play. The unpiling of players and not being successful is kind of part of the unsuccessful attempt. So I would not kill it immediately. It would have to feel like there was an unfair unpiling of this in order to do that. But even then, we're going to fire it back up as soon as we're now unpiling. I would not delay it any further than that. Only if the offense is being unnecessarily held down in an unpiling situation. All right, so now I've got interesting enough, now Nebraska has to snap this ball at the half-inch line. And by the way, umpires, we can never set that football with the tail end of that football in the end zone. So this ball has to be outside that end zone. So if that last play ended 3 inches from the goal line, we can't be putting that ball 3 inches out of the end zone. We got to get that a full ball length out. All right, so now Nebraska is going to come up, and guess what? Mr. helping the runner out of the backfield is going to come forward. Ignore the fact that we've got a foul here. Just go with the play. We've got a false start on the offense. They weren't all set, but you'll see I think I've got a good view of the back. Here we go. Watch this back out of the backfield. This is the play that we're trying to get rid of in helping the runner. I'm not sure what the college guys do. I don't really care, but this is an intent to help the runner, and that is what we want called. That is not legal. All right, the next play, they're going to snap it from they actually got penalized, so we probably went half the distance from the 3-inch line to the 1.5-inch line. Now we're going to snap it further into the end zone. Quarterback's got to be set, tries to make a surge. There's another push from that back. They get the ball out of the end zone about a yard. Now, remember, when we're in reverse mechanics, anytime we're snapping the ball 5 and near the goal line, coming out, wings, the referee needs you to move to the goal line and rule like it's a money line. And if he doesn't get out of there in this situation, we've got a safety, because that and a safety signal by the wings. That rush did not get that ball out of the end zone. If it's a sack by a quarterback or a grounding by the quarterback, that's the white hats. But when that money line is threatened to be a safety, that's yours. And you're going to come in strong almost as if it's a touchdown. You're going to come in, signal touchdown. He did not get that ball out of the end zone. In this case, now they're going to snap it from the 1. Next play, they get it out several yards, but I want to show you all the movement by the wings. As I was indicating, we're inside the 5. This time we're snapping it from about the 1. Watch the wing at the top move to the goal line at the snap. Officiate from there in our 5-man mechanics. That location is just as good as being at that line of scrimmage. Once you get there, now officiate the play like it was you read the run and pass and move accordingly. If it's a run, I need you to stay there. If it's a pass, unless it's a super deep pass like this one, which causes us some problems, we need that goal line covered. If that quarterback runs and almost gets out, but not quite, we might have a safety, and we need your help because the referee can't cover that. You got a lot to do on these plays if you're a wing, but get your butt to the goal line. All right, now we're going to watch a little bit of high school action. This is the situation where, and maybe some of you have seen this, you'll see at the top of the screen, we got 4th and goal. Our wing just stands there at the snap. I want that wing not only to the goal line, but I want that G on the goal line to be a lot further back, because that's where I want my wing immediately at the snap. I want you at the goal line, and I want you wide so that you can look down the goal line at the end of this play. What happens here is this wing is out of position, has trouble ruling on the play because of his position. Get to the goal line, get wide, and look straight down the line, straight down the goal line. It's going to help us rule on this. If I'm a coach, I'm going to ask, could he really tell what happened here? He's out of position. He can't even look down the goal line. And yes, wide is going to help you. You can look down that goal line for a long way. So get the box out of the way, get that goal line G out of the way. It'll help you. All right.
Just a quick time check for you. We're at about a minute and a half left for you.
All right, perfect. All right, here is the money line situation. This particular case, it's 4th and 3. Let's move to the line to gain at the snap, so that the coach doesn't say, how could you see that from this position? This case, our wings stay home instead of moving right to that line to gain. Coming in, I like how we're coming in hard at the bottom of the screen, same at the top. Get a good spot, tell the umpire, give me the ball. I got a good spot, let me put it at my feet, take a look at it. If it's close, let's measure it on 4th down. Don't let the coach say, how can you know I want a measurement? Let's just give them the benefit of the doubt and measure this ball because it's so close. Next play, similar, just repeating myself. At the snap, balls or offense is on the left, defense is on the right. Wings, move to the line to gain at the snap, be prepared for that, and officiate from there. All right, this last couple more real quick. So this happens to be, ignore the formation they're coming up with. Check the wing at the top of the screen. He's starting at about the 1 yard line. I love how he moves backwards, lines up with the goal line. The wing at the left side, not so much. He's got chains in the way. He's got some bodies in the way. Clear that stuff out. Allow yourself to get all the way to the yellow, okay? Same play here. Better look at the wing on the right side. I love this angle that he takes. He actually starts wide, even better. Why start close to the sideline? Break to the goal line at the snap. Love the angle. Great position, wide. And then if they come your way, back, make sure everybody's out of the way. All right, last play. Oh, let's see here. Oh, I thought maybe, you know, when I set this up, I think I only get the goal line view on this. All right, I'm done. Joel.
All right, Mr. Saki, you are up next. All right, we got your screen, Scott. Don't have any audio though from you. I'm not sure if you're speaking yet.
Can you hear me?
Got you now.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
I can, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Kirk. That was great stuff. I want to talk tonight about communication, and it's a brand new chapter in our mechanics manual. It's chapter 25. We inserted it in there. Our previous mechanics manual had 33 chapters, so we renumbered every chapter after chapter 25, one additional number. And again, the entire chapter is new. And I'd like to go back and thank Craig Cox in our first CFOA meeting, because he was talking about UNS and personal fouls. And then our second CFOA meeting, John Conklin was talking about sideline interference. This will tie in a little bit with it, but communication that we're talking about here tonight is with regard to coaches and to players, how we can be effective with our communication. And so with that, I'll start with a few things, but I'm going to have one video. The thing about communication is there's not too many videos that we can do because we just don't film our interactions or conversations with communication. Okay, our first screen here, we're talking about coaches. And communication is the single most important attribute of an official. You need to talk to your coach before the game, introduce yourself, let him know who he is, who you are. If you're a part of a crew that you meet out in the pregame, that's great too. But be sure you introduce yourself and welcome him to the game, and just get off to a nice start with him. You should also talk to your get back coach. Find out what he's wearing so you can spot him quickly. He can be a critical part of a good communication and a good tendency to let the game be getting off to a good start. Wing officials, you're the main conduit with these coaches. The back judge, the U and the R, they are a little bit insulated, not so much the R. He has some major things that he might have to talk to the coach about. But just as we've spoke before, a back judge or a U is not going to throw a flag on some type of a sideline manner. We've always stated that let the wings take care of their sidelines. So Usually communication starts from coach to wing, goes out to the field. You find information, comes back to the wing, goes back to the coach. So keep that conduit open and fluid with your coach. Wings don't need to know what to say and when to have dialogue. There are certain times when you can say the wrong thing or you say the right thing, but you say it in the wrong way. For instance, if there's a lot of people in the restricted area, you don't want to say, get out of the box. Coach, what are you doing in the box? Stay out of there. That's the wrong way to approach it. A better way to approach it is, Coach, I could sure use your help on keeping this sideline clear. Wings also need to know what to hear and what not to hear. A lot of times there's a direct conversation to you from the head coach, and it's important that you hear that. Sometimes there's some communication from assistant coaches that is maybe too direct, and maybe at your next opportunity, you can talk to the coach and say, I need to talk to you, coach. But that doesn't mean an assistant coach can't talk to you. He may want to just find out a pertinent bit of information about a particular play, and there's nothing wrong with that. Second to last, poise of the official is important. How you stand on the sideline, how you react to a play, how much hustle you've got, how much you stand at the sideline and not react to a play that's on the other side and you walk to the next play that's gained 10 yards and you're just a second and a half late for everything that you're doing, or you're sloppily walking. Those are sending messages to the head coach. So keep yourself tuned in with good hustle, standing erect, good signaling with how you communicate with your offside wing. And another thing is stand a couple yards back. That gesture of you standing 2 yards off the sideline lets the coaches know that you need that space in front of you. The tendency is, if you're an official that wants to stand on the sideline, you're going to be sending a message to coach of letting him creep up and get into that zone. So think about standing more off the sideline rather than right at the sideline. And of course, the referee must be prepared to intervene in a statesman-like manner to communicate something with the coach in some type of a referee coach conference. And I have one video tonight, and I'm going to talk about the play first. It's from a number of years ago at a 5A championship game. We're going to see a handoff to the back that's going to run straight up the middle. And what I want you to watch for is the back is going to get turned 180 degrees to where he's going to be facing his own end line. And it's going to look like the defender has his hands around the helmet opening of the ball carrier. And that may be what the coach is going to see. But then as soon as the play is over, the ball carrier is going to push defender, and he's going to get flagged for a late dead ball personal foul. So here we go. Okay, I'm going to play a little bit of that again. Watch the runner. Looks like helmet is being grabbed a little bit. I'm playing it again. Helmet being grabbed a little bit. Now the umpire is coming in, and there was a push, and he's going to throw a flag. Talking it over with the referee. Coach is saying, I think I saw something different. I'm not sure what the foul is going to be. I think I saw my player push a guy. So here it comes. The referee. Okay. Now the coach is concerned. He saw something that didn't get called in favor of his team. And obviously something big has gone against his team. Now, did you see that gesture right there? the referee gave a little bit of a wave with his hand. I'm going to play that part again. So watch the referee's left hand. It's a little underhand wave. He's going to walk the coach to the sideline. This is the good part. He's going to take him out from being on the field, and he's going to walk him to the sideline. So rather than having what could be a heated conversation out in the field of play, maybe at the numbers, that could get a little bit emotional, you're going to walk to the sideline. What the video doesn't show is referees, once you get to the sideline, turn your back to the bench and face the field. That way you won't have to have an assistant coach or other coaches barking in possibly their conversation with you. And it turns into a 3-on-1 or a 2-on-1. You can have your back to that bench. There'll probably be less tendency for the assistant coaches to want to chime in. And notice the head coach just follows the referee right to the sideline because he wants to talk to them. So it's a good technique to think about getting your coaches off the field and walk them to the sideline. So enough of that. That's my only video tonight. Back to the PowerPoint. Okay, responsibilities and goals. First of all, the coaches are there to win. They've been practicing all week long. They're going to use every technique they can to win. They're going to be boisterous, voluminous, and they're going to be saying things loud. Whereas the officials are there to implement the rules of the game. And that's what we're there for, and that's what we want to do. Next, officials need to help the coach. What can we do to help the coach and in turn be cooperative with him? Sometimes, rather than getting straight to a flag, we can do a couple of verbal warnings about things, being in the restricted area or, coach, I hear you. This is where when you have your get back coach and what he's wearing will help you know, to help identify some of the things that are going on to help keep things a little bit more orderly around there. Coaches may come up to you and say this or that, and you'll say, Coach, the forward progress was stopped, and I've got him down here rather than another yard further down the field. It's all that effective communication of letting people know. Officials, you should communicate early and often. Don't wait until the fourth quarter before you start saying something. You know, if your sideline is cluttered, try to work with the get back coach. Try to give him some good, clean conversation as to how to keep out of there. Stay 2 yards off the ball. That'll help keep your sideline zone, as I was mentioning, open and ready to go. Coaches need the truth. We don't want to fabricate anything. That will come back to haunt you for sure. Or if they have their iPads with their thing, they may say that I see something totally different than what you've been telling me just now. So always be truthful and never fabricate anything. Coaches are not allowed to relentlessly have coach referee conferences. There's nothing wrong with going over there once in a while, but soon as you start getting into conversations that are repeated, same old thing, he needs to be let known of that. So we don't want relentless, I need a coach referee conference all the time. Coaches are not allowed to criticize our judgment. We can talk about the rules and the application of the rule, but to criticize our judgment is not allowed. And you can put a little bit of a, let them vent into your conversation the first time. Maybe a second time, the coach referee conference comes out, they're venting about the judgment of the umpire or the judgment of the offside wing. What kind of flag was that? And you have to take that judgment and say, Coach, we cannot be talking about judgment. There'll be a little bit more to say as I go along further with this. What are some of the officials' techniques? Active, effective listening by officials is good communication. Sometimes you just got to stare at the coach, you wings and or referee, and just hear them out. Stare at them straight in the face. Look at the coach. Try not to be looking as if you're annoyed with that. So keeping a good listening ability, and the coach will appreciate that without saying anything. You don't want to be confrontational or short-tempered. Don't try to one-up the coach. You can reply by, I hear you, coach. Officials should not be timid or easily intimidated. Do not call a penalty because of, do not call a penalty because you're intimidated from a prior conversation or something that just happened with the coach. If you see a foul and you know it's a foul, call the foul. The coach can yell at you. We cannot yell back. Enough said there. Officials, you don't want to argue with the coach or touch the coach. There's no sense getting into any type of argument because volume goes up, the gestures of the body start getting out of whack, and it just is out of place, and it will lead you to nowhere. If we have to do a follow-up on a matter, do it timely. If something happened outside of your coverage area, at your next available chance, try to get some information. Sometimes on a long game, when the chains are moving, the wing might be able to come in and say, what did you see? Or your radios can help cover that area. Or you may need to get on the radio and say, I need to know a little bit more quick information. Follow up and try to do it timely. Second to last, don't bait the coach. Because a bait means no matter what you tell the coach, whatever they're going to respond is going to be the wrong answer. And that will lead into a penalty. Try to just be calm, perhaps even be silent, but don't bait him into a penalty. Rabbit ears. If something is not directed toward you, don't listen to something that isn't directed to you. Even though there might be a couple of assistant coaches talking right behind your back, and you know they're talking about your call, and they want you to hear it, but it's not directed at you. Let that go and be going on to the next play. Couple of, no, more than a couple. Here's some things that are good conversation things that you could have with the coach, and you could say, Coach, if it happened as you describe it, we missed it. There's nothing wrong with that. When the opportunity arises, I will get with the covering official and let you know what I find. Or, please provide the game film sometime and we can review it. We'd love to have that film. I will let the crew know what you saw when I get a chance. It might have to be at halftime that you have a good discussion. You could come out at the half and say, Coach, that play in the middle of the second quarter where we had a long conversation, this is what we discussed. This is how we saw it. That's following up. It may be 20 minutes later, but it required a good conversation to have with him. And you may be the one that threw the penalty and say, Coach, that was my call. And I didn't think it was big enough or had any impact on the play. What you don't want to use is, it's not my call. We can agree to disagree. That's enough, Coach. Not another word about it. Those are not things to let the coach know what's going on. Profanity. Officials can't use profanity of any kind. Never. Not even a small little shit. Just keep profanity out of the game at all points in time. Coaches who use profanity should keep the language in context and to who it's directed. What I mean by that is the coach in his team backspace say, Andy, what the shit kind of play was that? That is not directed at you. What they do in their team box is what they do in their team box. How a coach wants to use his language is in his box is what he is using. We do not need to get into that part of the game. Now, where we have zero tolerance and an automatic disqualification is any taunt with profanity or a racial slur which includes the N-word toward an opponent. N-words toward an opponent is an automatic disqualification. If an N-word comes out and it's to a teammate, it's deserving of a USC foul or any other profane language that comes with a slur toward opponents. But the N-word has to be to an opponent for a disqualification. An N-word to a fellow teammate is a USC or any other vulgar, profane language that comes for opponents. What are some effective communication things we can say or not say? One more word and you're gone. That's a specific action. That's not what we want to say. Shut up. Oh, that is antagonistic and unprofessional. You're wrong. This will only prolong the debate. It's just a game, coach. Are you serious? These serve to belittle the coach and make him feel even more at unrest. Watch your tone. It implies lack of care or anger beyond repair. Once you get into that angle, you're going to be having a long, harder evening.
I'll do a time check for you. We're about 2 minutes over.
Okay, I'm going real quick here. A flag becomes the next most viable option with physical contact, integrity assault, verbal abuse, objectionable gestures, prolonged discussion, accumulation, as the Montel rule states. And in the CHASA website is the Montel rule, where accumulation of this just keeps happening over and over. Lastly, being careful as officials. The less said to players, the better. We don't need to be coaching or saying things out on the middle of the field with players. Just let's move on, except for the umpires letting you know that the play is over. Push off the ground. I'm right behind you. Coaching. We never want to coach a player, telling them what to do, but cautioning is okay. Get up. You're not on the line. Is telling the player what to do, but I've got you off the line. You're just advising. That's okay. Admonishing. Avoid vengeance. Try not to get it personal within yourself. Threats. There's a fine line between a warning and a threat. Hey, if I see you holding again, that's going to cost you 10 yards. Whereas an easier statement could be, you weren't holding there, number 52, were you? That's a little bit softer. Problematic players, keep your cool and try to use some type of resolve without use of a flag. Thanks, guys.
All righty. Thank you, Scott. I am going to wrap us up for the evening and talking about 7-man mechanics. If any of you have questions while we're going through the presentation, feel free to put something in the chat window. And if Scott or Kirk or somebody could let me know what's out there, I can't see the chat window and the presentation at the same time. This is something that's near and dear to my heart. I've been an advocate for the 7-man mechanics in high school since I was an area director back in 2018, and it's evolved over the last few years. If you haven't had a chance to participate in one of the 7-man mechanic games, I think they're incredibly fun. I think they're incredibly beneficial to the players in the game as well. So with that, we'll lead into the presentation of why are we doing 7-man mechanics? Well, it's my understanding, and Scott, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard for all 5A postseason games this year, they will all be 7-man mechanics. Is that correct?
All 11-man games, not just 5A.
Okay. All right. So I thought it was just 5A, but all 11-man games is even better. So why are we doing this? Two primary reasons, right? Number one, better coverage during the most critical games of the season. Sometimes a game can come down to a single call. We want to make sure we get it right. And this also provides an extra opportunity for officials or more officials to get involved in postseason play. So a couple thoughts, and by the way, this last time I did this presentation, I think it was 45 minutes. I'm really going to cover the highlights. Got about 16 minutes or so to go through this. I will post a copy of this presentation on the DFOA site. So there are some things you may want to look through or go through, or maybe even go through with your crew. So this will be available. I'll post it tomorrow with this recording. But I've heard, as I've watched this evolve over the last few years, I've had an official tell me that they were bored working as a side judge or a field judge. And, if you're working the position correctly, you're not going to be bored. In fact, you'll probably be busier than the rest of the officials. There's something for the deeps to be doing on every single play. So I love working the deep spots. And if you get assigned as a deep wing in, one of these positions or one of these games, don't look at it as a negative or, I wasn't good enough to make one of the other 5 positions. These are great positions to be working. And it's also a great way to kind of segue to the next point in your career if you want to get up to the college level. A couple notes there. One thing I want to point out for the R's, when you are doing game confirmations with the schools for 7-man games, make sure that you get a facility that can accommodate 7 officials. The officials' locker rooms are not that big already. And when you add 2 more people in there, it gets even more crowded. So if you need to move to somewhere different, for pregame and so forth, make sure that you're talking about that with the schools beforehand. And then also keep in mind, as we get more officials involved and more females are getting into officiating, if you have a female on your crew, make sure that you are allowing extra space for them as well. 7 officials, by the way, doesn't mean we should be having more flags during the game. In fact, we should actually be having less, because now we shouldn't sort of have these, hopefully we have less when in doubts, right? There should be more eyes on a play. We should be able to have a definitive ruling, providing for coverage on weak areas of the field and 5-man mechanics, help with RPO style offense, and better DBO and game management. So with the extra 2 officials, the idea is not to throw more flags. It's the exact opposite. We actually want to have less and have more quality flags. Keep in mind the CFOA 7-man mechanics that we're going to run through very quickly tonight are different than the NCAA mechanics, and there's a reason for that. So as much as possible, when we develop these, we tried to preserve the 5-man mechanics to keep those consistent. So the U is going to line up in the regular spot on a kickoff. The back judge is going to be in the regular spot on a kickoff. We didn't want to discombobulate everybody by adding 2 more officials. So you'll notice that there are some key differences. So if you work 7-man mechanics in some of the summer leagues, or you've had a chance to do these the NCAA mechanics somewhere else, just know that these are different. So make sure you're aware of the differences. I'm not going to read through this slide. I'll put this again on the web for you tomorrow. But if you're wondering what the pregame duties are for each position in 7-man mechanics, the actual printed manual is online, as well as this presentation will be. So we'll skip through this slide in the name of time. Coin toss, where is everybody going to be? Again, quick graphic. The field judge is going to be on the side with the referee and the line judge. The side judge is going to be on the side with the line judge. With the head linesman, the umpire, and the back judge. The extra officials, the field judge and the side judge, will not come out with the rest of the crew. So when everybody else walks out for the coin toss, and you get some of the officials that stop at the hash or the top of the numbers, side judge and field judge will stay on the sideline, so they do not come out with the rest of the crew. Free kick coverage. This is one of the things that I just mentioned a moment ago. The deep wings are going to fill in on the K or the R line, not already covered by another official. So that's what I just mentioned a moment ago. The back judge is going to stay where the back judge normally is at, on the 40 with kicking team. Same for the line judge being on the 50. The field judge is going to fill in on the K line with the back judge. Side judge is going to fill in, on the R line with the line judge. So this gives us the extra coverage and the extra eyes that we need, but it doesn't cause everybody to have to sort of shift out of position. Again, this will be posted so you can look at this, but where should we be lining up? The field judge and the side judge should be slightly in front of the back judge on scrimmage plays. So the back judge, 25 yards off the ball, the field judge and side judge, just a couple of yards in front of them. And this also goes through goal line coverage, where everybody's positioning. Essentially, the deep wings are going to be responsible for the goal line until we get to the 7, at which point they're going to move back to the back corners or the back of the end zone and help out with that coverage back then. So 2 key lines to know for the deeps. If there is a spot that needs to be had between the 2 and the goal line, the deeps will be responsible for spotting that. And when I say deeps, I'm talking about field judge, side judge, and then the 7-yard line. Once we're snapping from the 7-yard line or in, everybody's going to move back to those back pylons. So something to keep in mind there when we're going to move and when we take up different positions. Keys, again, all online to spend some time reading through this in the manual, but essentially the deeps are going to have the outside eligible receiver on their side of the field. One of the things, and that's not going to change, by the way. So if, sometimes in 5-man mechanics for the back judge specifically, strength will change who the key is and motion will change who the key is or where the back judge is looking. For the field judge and the side judge, you are always going to have the outside most eligible receiver. So if there is motion to one side or the other and your receiver goes to the opposite side of the field, you move to the next person in. So whoever the next eligible receiver is on the line on your side, you're going to take. One of the things that I like to do when I work these spots is if there is no press coverage on your receiver, cheat in a little bit. I mean, cheat in and look at the next eligible receiver, maybe look at the tackle. But if there's no press coverage, they're not going to get fouled at the snap. You certainly want to know where they are, where they're going, and what's happening. But if you can keep an eye on another player from that position as well, take advantage of that when it's not press coverage. Always get asked on close sideline plays, who should be looking where? And so and you can see in this particular example, it's hard to see the official that's kind of almost off the frame out of the left side. You can see his arm just barely. But on these sideline catches like this, we're there to help. The deeps are there to help, and rule was a foot in bounds and then help with where the ball was as well. So what I always say is if I'm a deep and there's a catch at the sideline, if I'm looking at the receiver's back, I have the feet. I'm watching feet. I'm making sure there's 1 foot in bounds. The short wing in front of me, either the H or the L, is going to have the ball. So that way there's not one person trying to watch 2 things at once, feet and ball. You have somebody focused on the ball and possession. You have somebody focused on, was their foot in bounds and do we have a catch? You should be getting together on these close sideline plays, coming in and talking to each other and making sure that you have the same thing. Remember, we do not have the same catch signal, right? Where you put your fists together and kind of simulate that catch. We do not have that in high school. So we want to avoid doing that. If we need to get together and talk, if there's a close play, absolutely run up, have a quick conversation with each other, make sure you guys have the same thing. Where else can the deeps help? Substitutions, potential OPI penalties, and offer information when you have it. Again, we're the next set of eyes on the field and take advantage of it while we're out there. So if you see something that maybe the R needs to know about or see something differently than the back judge saw or somebody else, make sure you're offering up that information. Now, you don't want to do it on every play. Make sure it's something material and something that will, make a difference in the outcome or, is at the point of attack. But if you have information, you're the next set of eyes out there. Be sure and offer up that info when you have it. So this is one thing I want to make sure that I point out, and we have changed this since we originally wrote the manual. So if you download the manual off the website, scrimmage kick coverage has changed. So the way the mechanogram is shown right now, the mechanogram has the side judge and the field judge in front of the back judge. And so we don't want to do that. We want to change that. And so we want to be, this is very similar to the way they do it in NCAA and the NFL as well. The side judge and field judge want to be behind the back judge. So we're always looking forward into the play. The back judge has the returner. And so that's the most important piece. We need to keep an eye on the players coming down the field. And if the ball does go behind, if the punter gets his full leg into it, and we've seen it in a couple plays, we don't want it's easier to run forwards, than it is backwards. So retreating is harder if you're already lined up very deep and behind the back judge. We want to be able to run forward if we have to and not have to run backwards. Try to keep the action in front of you at all times. And that's what gives us that angle, right? Try and keep the play between you and the short wing in front of you. Is it going to happen 100% of the time? Probably not, but it should happen 95% of the time. And with having the play terminate in front of the deep and the short wing, it gives us a really good angle and ability to rule on a play. Areas of responsibility. So just an overlay here in this particular graphic showing where the side judge and field judge should be focused. Remember, we're behind the back judge. By the way, the other thing too is if we're snapping, if on a scrimmage kick, and this is in the manual again, if we're snapping from K's 45, right, we want to make sure that we're on the goal line so that we can rule on what's commonly referred to as a coffin corner kick. So if the punt goes towards one of the pylons, we want to make sure we're at the pylon so we know if that ball goes out of bounds or it goes into the end zone. And you don't want to line up at the 5. You don't want to be lined up at the 6 or the 10. If it's from K's 45, just go ahead and go to the goal line. If we're a little deeper than normally a couple of yards behind the back judge, that's fine. Again, it's easier to run up on a play than it is to backpedal, and it's also easier to be there and rule on a play than be out of position, as Kirk was kind of talking about at the beginning of the presentation. Kicks out of bounds. So it's not going to be the normal wing mechanic where the wing would hold their hand up and potentially get help from the referee. If it rolls out of bounds, so if in other words, if it hits in the grass and then rolls out of bounds, the deeps are going to have that. If it hits in the white, so meaning somewhere in the sideline or side zone, the deeps are going to spot that. If it's way out on the fly, the deeps are going to be the one, they're going to be holding their hands up and getting help from the referee. Talk about your nonverbal communication with the R during pregame. Some R's do it a little differently. If you have a radio, you may handle it differently than if you just use hand signals. Make sure you pregame with the deeps how you're going to handle out of bounds scrimmage kicks. Field goals and tries. The field judge is always going to be under the other upright with the back judge. So whichever upright the back judge takes, the field judge is going to have the opposite. The side judge is going to act like a second umpire. If you're familiar with the NCAA mechanics, the side judge is always going to be on the strong side. We're not doing any of that strong weak side in the high school mechanic or the CFOA mechanic. You're always going to be opposite the press box, no matter what the strength indication is. So the umpire is going to line up, and then we're going to go to the opposite side of the umpire, which should be opposite the press box 100% of the time. So pay no attention to the strength for any kind of try. Couple things to look sharp on the field. This is where I think we get into trouble. Again, I've watched a lot of the 7-man games that we've had over the last couple of years. The first year we really struggled with this. I will say last year I went to a number of the 7-man games that got much better. But how to look sharp on the field is know your reverse mechanics. So if you get a turnover, the deeps are going to turn into essentially the H and the L, and they're going to take the spot. And then the H and the L are going to be going downfield to get to the goal line. It looks really bad when we're bumping into each other, or when the play ends, we're standing on top of each other. That happened a lot in the first year or two that we did this. Last year was much better, but think about reverse mechanics in turnovers, how you're going to handle that, where you're going to be, and do not end up next to each other. It looks horrible on the sidelines. Back judge, remember when you are doing your counts, you're going to be signaling your counts not to your short wing, but you're going to be signaling to your field judge and your side judge. Make sure you're looking both ways. Another common thing that I saw is if they'd always look to their dominant hand. So if a back judge was right-handed, they were always putting their hand out for the count and looking to the right, but never looking to the left. Looked both ways, and that's something else that back judges are going to have to get used to. Discuss when you're going to signal your counts, by the way. So now you're going to be signaling with 2 other people, not just one. It just doesn't look good when the back judge is going up, and then 2 seconds later, one of the other deeps goes up, and then right before the snaps, the third official goes up. Try and get in sync when you're going to signal your counts. Best practice is when the offense breaks the huddle. That's typically what we do on our crew. So now that you've got 3 deeps, they're going to be doing counts of the defense. Offense breaks their huddle. Everybody goes up. Back judge look left, look right. It looks sharp on the field. Deeps stand at a 45-degree angle to the field. Always signal with your upfield arm. So again, it's just a matter of visibility. You're going to want to signal whichever way you're going, your upfield arm. So you get that out there, and that's visible to everybody on the field. If you signal out with your downfield arm, it's very difficult to see, especially for night games. There's some best practices in here, and the accordion in and out is something that's important. Again, it's about looking sharp. Communicate with coaches, so we really help manage the game back in the deep positions. Try to have all the plays end between you and your short wing, like we just talked about a few minutes ago, and then be there for DBO on plays to your sideline. Hustle up there. If something goes out on your sideline, don't be standing there and watching. Bust your butt, get up there, get in the action, help your short wing out. That's what you're there for. Don't take the spot. So we are never spotting the ball as a deep wing unless, what I said a moment ago, the play ends between the goal line and the 2-yard line. That's when we will take the spot, kill the clock if necessary, put our hand up if necessary, but we have the spot from the 2 to the goal line. Try not to get beat. Make sure you maintain your cushion. So you've got a deep cushion already. Again, something else that looks bad is when a receiver runs clear by you and makes a catch, 15 yards down the field, and you're still there. When you start backpedaling, when you get threatened, when you're 5 to 10 yards away from that receiver, stay in front of them, maintain your cushion. And then do not be giving deep or preliminary signals from the deep position. If you have a radio, use that. If your crew uses those, but don't give a holding signal. Don't give a pass interference signal. Come up, report a foul as you normally would. So we are right at time. I am going to conclude this presentation. Again, that was very, very quick, but I will put this online, and the 7-man mechanics manual is actually online as well. So if anybody has any questions or wants to talk 7-man mechanics, it's a passion for me. Feel free to call me, text me. Would be happy to get with anybody and discuss that more in depth. So Matt, I will turn it over to you to close us out. Any final words of wisdom for the evening?
Thanks, Joel. Everybody did a good job. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Kirk. Any questions about anything? Always feel free to email any situations you have in games, and have fun in the playoffs. Thanks, guys.
Good luck, everybody. Have a good rest of the season. Good night.